concerned about one of the players and the season ahead. Kelly Oubre Jr. has been released from the hospital after he was struck in a hit and run last night. Search is on for the person who was behind the wheel during that crash.
This one situation, which is a very tragic situation that we should have a lot of empathy for, and thankfully the individual that is involved in this situation is okay, turned out to be a cascade of conspiracy theories and one of the most wild controversies that I think I may have ever covered on this channel. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. For the last month and a half, I have plugged in the same freaking ad in each and every video to remind you guys that every single time PrizePicks does this, we end up making money. The last time it was with a Steph Curry free square. This time, it's for Thanksgiving, so we have a few days to lock this in. All Christian McCaffrey needs is 1 yard, which he's gonna get a yard in order for his square to convert, which means we only need to get 1 pick right in order to 3x our money, or 2 picks right to potentially 5x our money. I'm gonna post my picks onto my Instagram at TheFlightMike, and make sure you use my promo code microphone to double your deposit up to $100 when you join PrizePicks. It's worth a shot because historically we have a great win percentage on this. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? About a month ago, the Philadelphia 76ers made a decision that shocked everyone. Daryl Morey essentially gave James Harden, the player that he loved the most.
But I don't think they realized James Harden was as good as he is now, right?
That's correct. To be fair, I don't know if anyone did. We put all our assets in to trade for him, but no one could anticipate he'd be the best player in the world. Like,
Why did you put all your assets? Why him?
both the eye test, because he looks amazing. I think anyone watched him, but if you looked at data at the time, once he had the ball in his hands, and it's still true to this day, and I get a lot of because someone asked me who's a better scorer, him or Michael Jordan, and it's just factual that James Harden is a better scorer than Michael Jordan.
Based on the math.
Based on literally, like, you give James Harden the ball, and before you're giving up the ball, how many points do you generate, which is how you should measure offense. James Harden is by far number one in NBA history, and he was number one even at the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was coming off the bench. It was a little more hidden.
Out of any player that was ever on any of his rosters in NBA history, the proverbial middle finger. The theory is that Daryl Morey was tired of the disrespect that James Harden was giving him. So what did he end up doing? Well, he signed Kelly Oubre Jr. Now, what's the problem with signing Kelly Oubre Jr.? Well, up until that point, the Philadelphia 76ers were doing everything they could to try to retain James Harden. He's just being a diva. He's being a little immature. He'll get over it eventually. But at that point, when they decided to sign Kelly Oubre Jr., it was the Sixers telling James Harden that we're moving on from you after months of trying to retain him. How? Well, Kelly Oubre Jr. and James Harden had a situation that occurred in 2020. In 2020, James Harden was dating a woman by the name of Shailyn. Now, there is a rumor that alleges that Shailyn and Kelly Oubre Jr. were messing around while she was with James Harden. So supposedly, Shailyn has been James Harden's main chick in Arizona for a while. James was throwing a party a few weeks ago at his Arizona house and freaked out because he found out that Shai was in LA with Kelly Oubre and almost canceled the whole party because he was heated. Now, is this true? We're not for sure, but Shailyn is currently dating Kelly Oubre Jr., so do that with what you will. The Sixers signing Kelly Oubre was giving James Harden the finger. James Harden eventually got traded to the Clippers, and this decision ended up being the greatest decision that the Philadelphia 76ers could have made. Kelly Oubre Jr. is a seamless fit for a Nick Nurse offense. An offense that isn't focused on James Harden, Joel Embiid pick and rolls, and James Harden isolations. Rather, it's about putting the right pieces around Joel Embiid, and so far, in a small sample size, Kelly Oubre has been excellent, shooting a career high 38% from three, averaging 16 points per game. Now, mind you, it's only been 8 games, but in this very small sample size, Kelly Oubre is boasting his best offensive box plus minus of his career and his best overall box plus minus of his career in comparison comparison to recent years. Everything was going really well until all of a sudden we found out some breaking news that was very shocking to say the least. You see, on November 11, 2023, Adrian Wojnarowski announced that Philadelphia 76ers guard Kelly Oubre was a pedestrian struck by a motor vehicle in Center City, Philadelphia, and is receiving treatment at a local hospital. Kelly Oubre Jr. is currently in stable condition. The way this is presented to us, it makes it seem like Kelly Oubre might not even play basketball again. Woj would even say representatives from the team, including 76ers president Daryl Morey, are with Oubre Jr. at the hospital. He is expected to miss significant time due to his injuries, but those aren't considered to be season-ending. Local authorities are investigating the incident. The story at the time was Oubre Jr. was walking near his residence when struck, the spokesman said. But here's where it gets interesting. After 4 days of investigation, Philadelphia police said that investigators do not have any video or photographic evidence at this time showing Sixers guard Kelly Oubre Jr. being struck by a vehicle Saturday night in a hit and run. According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, surveillance footage recovered so far in the alleged hit and run accident that injured 76ers forward Kelly Oubre Jr. shows no evidence that a crash occurred at the Center City intersection where Oubre reported being hit on Saturday night, police said. The police department currently does not have any video or photographic evidence that depicts this collision, according to Sergeant Eric Grip. We continue to work in hopes of gathering evidence, and we encourage anyone who has information to reach out to our crash investigation unit. This is very significant. Kelly Oubre Jr. is claiming that he was hit and it was just a hit and run. The individual that struck him didn't stop by to say anything to him. They didn't exchange any type of information. There's no cameras that ever got any image or video of Kelly Oubre Jr. getting ran over. Now, at the time, 2 employees of businesses near the reported crash site told the Inquirer that they reviewed roughly 2 hours of footage from that evening on their work surveillance systems and did not see the crash. They asked to remain anonymous due to the high-profile nature of the case. Grip emphasized that the police have not accused Oubre of anything and that the investigation is ongoing, but the lack of immediate visual evidence confirming the crash on a well-trafficked downtown street raises questions about the information Oubre provided to the police. Now, the more detailed explanation is, in an incident report released Saturday, police said a crash occurred at 7:20 p.m. near 15th and Spruce Streets. A 27-year-old pedestrian, later identified by the Sixers as Oubre, was reportedly walking westbound on Spruce when a silver vehicle speeding in the same direction attempted to turn south onto Hicks Street and struck him in the upper chest area with the driver's side mirror. Police said medics treated Oubre at the scene and transported him to Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, where he was treated for a broken rib and injuries to his hip and leg. The craziest part is Oubre was initially supposed to miss significant time. Of course, he just got ran over, for crying out loud, but he showed up at the Sixers practice facility this week, went through another light workout on Wednesday, and the team is hopeful that he could return within weeks rather months. When Nick Nurse was asked about the situation, this is what he had to say.
Yeah, he's back home. I think he's doing okay. Pretty traumatic incident, all those things, but he is home resting fairly comfortably, and it's kind of where we are right now. I think he's gonna be back kind of to join with the team to be observing practice, etc. by about Tuesday. I think we're gonna have about a week go by before we kind of reevaluate where he's at, and then we'll probably know a little better where he is and what the timeline looks like. That's where we are right now.
And you could tell that people really love Kelly Oubre and care about him as a person, because everyone from ex-teammates like Steph Curry and current teammates that just barely met him recently are showing him so much support.
I mean, our thoughts are with him. That's such a scary, scary news to get. And, thankfully I think from all accounts, he's going to be okay. Basketball aside, that's a blessing. We said a prayer for him before the game, before we took the court.
Tyrese Maxey would go out for 51 points and dedicate the game to Kelly Oubre Jr.
It had nothing to do with me. This is all Kelly Oubre, man. We praying for him, man. Love my dog, man. I just met him, but I love him. You know what I'm saying? I hope he gets well soon.
And then the interesting thing about all of this is Adrian Wojnarowski would say that Kelly Oubre can return in 2 weeks.
Kelly Oubre Jr. has been in the Sixers facility the last couple of days, starting to do some light work. And I'm told that it's a realistic expectation that he could be back in 2+ weeks. Perhaps those are all, factors in his recovery right now. But this is a player who's been a real, perhaps one of the great free agent bargains of this offseason.
So what's really going on here? How can you get hit by a vehicle, have no video evidence of the incident occurring at the spot where the incident took place, and then all of a sudden be good to go within a few weeks? First things first, I am glad that Kelly Oubre Jr. is okay. I am glad that his injury isn't career ending. I'm happy that he can return to the court within the next few weeks as opposed to potentially missing a season or losing his career. But if you take a look at this footage that TMZ obtained from a ring camera, there's something that isn't adding up here.
Are we okay? Oh my God, he got hit by a car, he got hit by a car.
You can tell that Kelly Oubre Jr. walks in with a bike. There are two theories that are coming out of this entire incident. The first rumor, which by the way, I want to say, very highly speculative rumor, comes to us from Pompey on Sixers that says that the police have stated that the surveillance footage reviewed to date from the reported hit and run involving Kelly Oubre Jr. does not show any indication of an accident happening at the Center City Junction where Oubre said he was struck on Saturday night. A source familiar with the situation said that Oubre may not have provided an accurate account of where the crash allegedly occurred. So why would Kelly Oubre Jr. lie about what happened? Now, in addition to this, apparently there were medics at the scene and he was taken to Jefferson Hospital around the corner with injuries consistent with a vehicular strike. Now again, until there's actual factual information coming out that proves that Kelly Oubre wasn't struck by a vehicle, we're not going to suggest otherwise. Rather, we're suggesting what kind of hit and run took place. What the leading theory and the leading rumor is if you take a look at that TMZ footage, Kelly Oubre Jr. is bringing in a bike. Kelly Oubre has been on record saying that he loves mountain biking in his free time. Why would this be a problem? Well, whenever you're playing in the NBA, you are considered to be an asset for that basketball team. There's a reason why Kelly Oubre Jr. is getting paid a $2.9 million contract from the 76ers, which I know in comparison to other NBA players is chump change, but in comparison to regular human beings like you and I, that's a lot of money. And the reason why Kelly Oubre is getting paid that money is because of how incredible he is at the game of basketball. I think that's not a bold take at all whatsoever. Whenever teams pay out this money, they're expecting you to do everything that you possibly can to take care of your body as much as you can so you can play basketball. So why would Kelly Oubre Jr. lie? Well, the best way that I could explain this is drawing parallels to other situations. One of the earliest basketball stories that I followed as a kid is the story of Jay Williams, who dominated at Duke University before the Chicago Bulls selected him with the second overall pick in the 2002 NBA draft. Jay Williams would have an okay rookie season before tragedy would strike in the summer of his rookie season. While riding a motorcycle on the north side of Chicago, Jay Williams would crash his Yamaha motorcycle into a streetlight of the intersection of Belmont Avenue and Honor Street in the Roscoe Village neighborhood. Jay Williams was not wearing a helmet, he wasn't even licensed to ride a motorcycle in Chicago, and he was violating the terms of his contract by riding a motorcycle. As a result, Jay Williams would fracture his pelvis, he would sever a main nerve in his leg, he would tear 3 ligaments in his left knee, including his ACL, he would require lengthy physical therapy in order to regain use of his leg, and the worst part of all, 1 week later, the Chicago Bulls would select Kirk Heinrich in the NBA draft, essentially telling Jay Williams that we're done with you. The Bulls would waive him and drop him from the roster, but they did a very classy thing here. They didn't have to legally pay Jay Williams any of his remaining salary at all because his severe injuries occurred while he violated the terms of his contract by riding a motorcycle. Instead, the Chicago Bulls gave Jay Williams $3 million when they waived him so Williams could use those funds for rehabilitation expenses. Jay Williams would apologize to the Chicago Bulls for violating the terms of his contract and severely injuring himself. And this is where the story takes a very dark turn. He would work hard in rehab so he can make a return to the Bulls. He would get addicted to painkillers. The story ends happily because Jay Williams currently is an analyst on ESPN, but this without a doubt ruined his career. And by violating his contract, he lost out on millions. And the same could be applied here. You are not allowed to go mountain biking when you are in the NBA. At the end of the day, do I think Kelly Oubre Jr. is deliberately lying to us for a particular reason? I think he may be spinning the story a little bit just to his advantage, or he was just really disoriented when everything went down. Even if the worst case scenario was true, I don't don't necessarily think he's going to get in any trouble anyway. I don't think the story is worth him getting into any trouble at all. At the end of the day, I think he's having a great season for himself, and I hope he continues on this path. I'm glad it's not anything worse. I just thought that it was pretty interesting how the story was very murky from the moment we got it. From the initial report saying he's going to be out for several months to the fact that he's only going to be out for a couple weeks. He's currently in practice right now. A lot of the story doesn't really add up, but at the end of the day, what really matters is the fact that Kelly Oubre is okay, and he should be playing for the Sixers within a couple of weeks, and hopefully he could pick up where he left off. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you believe the whole story as is? What do you think happened? I want to get your guys' take on the situation in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.